The first step for this project is to draw your mittens onto your graph paper. Now you can free draw those, or you can use the template that I have. And what we're going to do is flip it over. Everywhere where you see those black lines, we are going to take a pencil. We don't need to do the entire page because if it's white, we're not going to need it. So I'm really just following those lines that I can see from the other side. You can see I'm holding my pencil on the side. I normally hold it like this. Instead, I'm holding it like this. So it's nice and flat on the edge. Now, I'm going to flip it over, match it up, hold it down with my other hand that I don't draw with, and now I'm going to push down and trace on top of those black lines. I'm trying to push as hard as possible because we want our image to show up on the other side. Push really hard while you're tracing. When you're done, you'll see a very light image traced on your paper. Again, you can also free draw this. Next, I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to trace onto those lines. So they show up really clearly. Take your time. And then I'm going to erase over top. And when you're done, you should have an image that looks similar to this. Next, you are going to take your pencil and draw a design onto your mittens. So you're going to use the graph paper to help you. It'll make it give it like a feeling that it's knitted. So you can look at the patterns that I give you, or you can just create your own. I think I'm just going to create my own. So I'm going to go 2 down, 2 over, 1 up, 2 over, you can decide what pattern you want to do. It's totally up to you. Once you have your pattern down, you are then going to trace over it with your Sharpie. Once you're happy with your design, you're going to take your Sharpie and start to go over it, but you need to pay attention to what areas you want to remain solid and which ones you want to look separate. So these ones, I wanted them to look like separate pieces, but my snowflake, like you can see up here, I had to pay attention to what lines I went on with my Sharpie. So I drew lines here initially to get my design down, but I don't want lines here, so I did not go over them with my Sharpie. So I'll try to show you with my finger. I went down 9, across 9, and then I went diagonal 3, 3, 3, 3. I want that middle space to stay open, so watch. I go down, and I go down 3 until I hit that next one. Go over, up, over, up, over. There's nothing connected to these, so I can just draw straight down. Here, this is connected, so I want to go down, across, over, down. See, I already made a mistake. It's okay. Down, over, down, over, down. It takes a second to think about it. So I did make a mistake here. I didn't really want that line to be there because look up here, I didn't want it. It's okay. Let's look over here again. Here's my area. It might help you to go over those lines really, really dark so I know. These ones were supposed to be separate. Then I go down, over 3. Probably gonna be easier to do a less complicated design than I did. So I shouldn't have blocked these off. Oh well, I already did it. So that's fine. Yes. Since I made a mistake here, I'm just gonna make it match over here. So on this one, I went in too far. We'll just make these bottom ones both in farther. So Once you have your design drawn, you need to take a gray marker and we're going to go along on the inside of both of our mittens. It's going to give it like a shading effect, and we also want to do the same thing with the thumbs. We're going to do the same thing at the bottom of our mittens. And now I'm going to do shading on this side, but if we're thinking about our light source is coming from here, which is giving our shadow over here, we now do not want to do this shadow on the outside. We're going to do it on the inside for this mitten. Same with down here. I shaded on this side. Same with this over here. I'm not going to go on the outside because if our light source is coming from here, our shading should be over here. Next, you're going to choose a few colors for your markers and then decide which areas are going to get what color. Whatever you do over here needs to be done over here as well. Once you have colored your patterns, you are going to figure out what size of snowball you need to make based on your glove. So you can take a tracer and figure it out, or you can free draw by yourself. Snowballs are not exactly perfect, so it's fine to free draw it. I'm gonna try that right now. I know it needs to be about that big. So there's my snowball. Next, I'm going to use watercolor pencils, and we're going to use a blue. And first, we're just going to do an outline. And now I'm going to shade it in a little bit more on one side. And now I'm going to go a little darker, or a little lighter, so I'm just not pushing as hard. And then we're going to add water. For the background, we're just going to do it all blue, but first we're going to get our paper wet with just clean water. It might be a little blue, but that's okay. I'm working in small sections, so once that is wet, then I put my blue on top of it. Again, we're working quickly because we want this to be wet. Once I have a section done, I'm just going to take a little pinch of salt and scatter it in that area just a little bit. And now I'm going to move on to my next area. Wet first with just water. My water has a little bit of a tint to it because I'm dipping my same paintbrush in it, which is fine. Then add your paint. And then add a pinch of salt all across that area. Again, water down. Paint and salt. Continue doing that for your whole paper. To make our snowball, you can either free draw it or use a stencil. I'm just gonna free draw because snowballs are never perfectly circle. You could also be creative and draw like a little snowman that your mittens are holding. So I would start like that, do your second layer and your third layer. If you're gonna do this, I would do like your eyes and nose. If you're gonna add buttons, whatever. And then your second step, whether you're doing a snowman or just a snowball, you could also get creative and do like a snowflake. It's up to you. No matter what though, you are going to get blue paint and you're just gonna paint part of it, and we're just doing a little line. I'm gonna go barely on the other side. Might just go a little bit more in because we want it to look a little bit 3D, like a sphere instead of a circle. Same thing if I'm gonna do the snowman, I'm gonna do it on one side. And just a really slight line on the other side. Super small compared to the other side. So whatever side you're doing this on needs to be the same side that you have shading on your mittens. I'm gonna go through one more time with a slight line. Basically, I'm taking my brush that already had paint on it and just dipping it in some clear water real quick, and then doing one more layer to make it another version of that light blue. Once your background is dry, you just sweep the salt off, and then you need to cut your mittens out, and we'll glue these onto our background paper. Once I have my mittens cut out, I'm going to make sure I add glue all along the edges. Especially down here. And then I'm gonna go back through. When we line it up, we wanna make sure that we are lining our straight edge up with the arms. And then hold it down, moving your arms around with pressure, and count to 30. Next, you need to cut out whatever you did to go inside your gloves or your mittens. So I did a snowball. Here was my example of my snowman, whichever one you want to do, cut it out. There is my example with a snowman in the middle. Here's my example with a snowball. Whatever you choose to do, you turn it over, glue on the back, hold it down for 30 seconds, and then you're done.